college coaches will find me. There's this long-running perception in sports recruiting, in college recruiting, that if I'm a good player, college coaches will find me through X or Y, through a tournament that I'm going to, or through my travel team, or whatever the case may be. Because of the volume of applicants, of recruiting, of tournaments, of everybody who is hoping to accomplish this goal of playing softball at the college level, this just isn't true anymore for the vast majority of student athletes. For student athletes with a rare and special talent, you know what? Yep,
they will be found.
they can be found. If you are a Jenny Finch level talent, you won't be able to hide it, and you will get on somebody's recruiting radar, and you'll be found. But for the vast majority of student athletes, and especially those pursuing high academic recruiting, this just isn't the reality. And part of this is because of some of these other formats for recruiting and for gaining exposure, one of which is large format tournaments. These tournaments offer incredible travel ball experiences. Some of the best memories in my life have come from large format tournaments with my travel team. But from a recruiting standpoint, there isn't necessarily the same level of focus or concentrated guaranteed opportunity for student athletes. First of all, at some of these bigger tournaments, coaches are looking to cover a geographic spread of 20, 30, 50 fields that are sometimes an hour or more apart from each other, which just isn't a reality. They can't be two places at once. They might show up to camp with a list of players that they know they need to go see. They're going to see those players. They might accidentally see some of the other girls on their team, but they're not guaranteed to see every player there. And that's just a reality of the geography and the fields that these tournaments are using and everything else. The other thing is this idea of game-only opportunities, and also a limited window, and these two kind of go together. We have a coworker here who went on to play at Georgetown, had a fantastic career there. She went to a large format tournament. She got in at bat. Princeton, Georgetown, GW, Haverford are all watching her, and they saw one at bat, and she struck out. She walked back to the dugout and said, well, I guess that's it for my recruiting. Now, things ended well for her, fortunately, and she got kind of this more continued opportunity through a host of other factors. But this limited exposure and this idea that there's a very limited chance that coaches see you during the right time. They might see you for one at bat, and you hit that bomb over the left field fence, and that's awesome. They also might see that strikeout. And since softball is a game of failure, if you go 4 for 10, you're in the College Hall of Fame. That's an awesome career. But those other 6 times, you're not on base. And that, I think, is a tough reality for some of these for some of these tournaments. Then there's also the smaller, more intimate regional tournaments. And these offer some great exposure opportunities to some of these regional schools where it's a smaller format. They're not spread across the same geographic area. There's a concentration of schools. But the reality of college softball recruiting budgets is that they can't go to all of the tournaments that they would like to. They would like to be out recruiting all of these high school and travel ball games and tournaments and everything else. But their recruiting budgets are such that they just aren't able to pursue all of these opportunities. And so these smaller regional tournaments that don't offer this scale and the efficiency of being able to recruit, 100, 200 girls all at once, don't necessarily draw the same national footprint of college coaches especially of these high academic schools. And then the other part is coaches now more than ever are recruiting character in addition to on-field play. Yes, impressing a coach with how hard you hit a ball, how fast you pitch, your drop, your curve, your rise, all super, super important, but so is character. And them getting to not just see you play, but interact with you, talk to you face to face, get to know you as a player is absolutely crucial because they want a girl in their program that can not just hit the ball, but can represent their program on campus to their opponents and just across, as an alumni, just across the board, represent the culture and character of the team that they are recruiting. And this is so, so important.
Another thing to that point, I'll give you an example at camp is we had a player come, and I know you know exactly what I'm talking about, who came to multiple camps. Talented kid from a very small town in the Midwest, wasn't getting the necessary opportunities, had a dream of playing Division I, really smart kid, needed as many opportunities as possible, worked harder than anybody I've ever met, and is now playing in the Big East. Really, really cool to see. When she first came to camp, it was like, there's no way this kid has an opportunity. But because everybody knew who she was, she really built that character, she really had that opportunity to show off the field, I will work harder than anybody else. Those were advantages because a lot of kids that we see are not the big time D1, SEC. Oh wow, that kid in 8th grade, she should be committed by now. That's not who we're really working with. And so I think that's what's important. The last point is Headfirst does a really good job of complementing the travel ball scene. That's why we work with so many travel ball teams where they say, hey, you 4 kids, you 6 kids that are eligible for these types of schools or could be eligible, go to Headfirst after this tournament or whatever that may be, because you're going to get the type of exposure to really take you to the next step there.
Absolutely, and we'll talk a little bit about this in terms of vetting the right exposure opportunities, but your process, and Matt touched on this a little bit earlier, your process as a high academic student athlete is going to look different just by virtue of the schools that you're targeting. It's going to look very different from the vast majority of your teammates. And so you are going to require different types of opportunities to find efficiency in your process as well. Great, so how do I avoid the they'll find me trap? And the key word in avoiding this is being proactive. The they'll find me trap is one of reactivity, right? You sit back, you trust that things will work out, you kind of figure that the fates will have their day, and you'll be found, right? Passive voice, there's no action behind it. To avoid that, you got to be proactive. You have to go out and attack this process, starting with your list. Build it early. Vet the qualities that you see. You think you want a small school, you go visit a small school, you say, well, maybe not that small. Start to kind of pressure test your list and build this list early so you can start to target these types of opportunities. The other thing is identify and pursue individual showcases that get you in front of these schools and the schools that look like the schools you are targeting. As Matt said, crucial to keep an open mind. And then last point, you have to be proactive and persistent in your communication with college coaches.